Well, I'm Alan Dale from Gale Force Winds. It's an absolute pleasure to be here on the Building in Newfoundland and Labrador podcast. Women in Construction 2024 is underway. A lot of great conversations happening, and we have sort of the person that kicked it all off here today. Minister Hutton, why don't you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your portfolio and how that intersects with the construction industry?
Well, thanks very much, Alan, for inviting me here today. I appreciate it. The last time we spoke, I was in the housing portfolio, but since then, back in July, not long after we chatted, actually, I moved over to transportation and infrastructure. But on top of that, I'm the Minister of Rural Economic Development. So it's a busy time right now. We've got a lot of work going on in Newfoundland and Labrador. I mean, you may know already, and your viewers may know that last year our government announced a $1.4 billion 5-year roads program. We got a lot of roads in Newfoundland and Labrador. If you look at it all, it's about 9,700 kilometers of lane roads. So that you got another lane on the other side, so you can at least double that. 1,300 bridges. The department is responsible for about 1,000 buildings, about 2,600 vehicles, and aircraft, which include everything that plows the snow, puts ice down, equipment for paving, that kind of stuff. And schools just came into transportation and infrastructure, so that's another 200 buildings, and the 1,000 buses that we're responsible for. So there's a lot going on, and then there's rural economic development, right?
I was going to say, I mean, so you're clearly in the right place here today, talking to those
Sure.
builders, right? And today is really focused around women in construction, and I would argue that all hands are needed on deck here with what you just described. An incredible time in Newfoundland and Labrador. Everything is booming, right? And the underpin of it all is to make sure that that infrastructure is in place. Those people in the room are the ones that are going to do it.
Absolutely. It's funny because there's a little bit of irony involved in me speaking to people who are in the construction industry.
You're a handy fella.
Women or men? No, I'm not. I'm the least. And I mean, the quote from my wife to my sister was, "Fred is useless when it comes to building or putting things together." So there's a little bit of irony there. But I will tell you this, without the folks who are in that room behind us, men or women, or in the heavy civil workforce, we need more people there because there's a lot of work coming down the pipe. We're getting ready to twin the highways, as you know, about another 60 kilometers across the province between Whitburn and Sunnyside, and then another 14 kilometers between Grand Falls, Windsor, and Bishops Falls. We're expanding the passing lane coming off the ferry on the west coast, understanding that the infrastructure is crucial to the movement of people and goods. And opening up more exposure to rural parts of the province, which is part of my rural economic development hat. Never ever thought I would care as much about pavement, pipes that are underneath it, but people don't think about it. Like I drive on highways, the only time you think about it is if you hit a pothole or if you see a rut in the road, and we're constantly trying to improve those 9,700 kilometers. When you think about it though, look at the size of Newfoundland and Labrador, all the communities leading into like about 500, all the branch roads going off. Then, we haven't even talked about Labrador yet. Right? Which part, the Trans-Labrador Highway, they just completed paving last year, right? Something that they've been trying to do for decades. Opening up that infrastructure though, right? And the ability for people to feel more connected so that if, IOC continues to grow or, to grow in that area, well, then people can go back and forth between Goose Bay, Churchill Falls, and get back and forth. But that infrastructure is crucial. And our partnership with the federal government, we're still pushing for more because the pipes under the ground are what people need in order to build more houses, and that's what these folks want to do.
Yeah.
And the highway's part of it, but then we've got the hydrogen industry, which is coming up. Look, I know you said we got 5 minutes. I could talk about this all day.
We got the whole internet.
Yeah.
But Minister, what I really find fascinating is great vision to put rural economic development infrastructure together because it's all interconnected, and the people in that room, they don't, it doesn't matter where they live in this province. They have to support the growth of it all together, and that's so fascinating. The government had good vision to put that together.
Well, look, here's a perfect example. Yesterday, Alan met with a mayor and deputy mayor of a community in rural Newfoundland. The main road through their community runs along the shoreline, as it does in many communities in our province. The erosion is taking place. They're getting funding from the provincial government to put in the big armor stone to protect that because the school is on the other side. We want to be there to help that. The main street has all the businesses on it. It has the school on it. And this is a community that's not going anywhere. It's been around for a long time. It's going to be around for a long time into the future. So we got to protect that infrastructure to make sure that, and that's just one example, to invest in that for rural Newfoundland.
Well, 100%, Minister. And I think that what I really enjoy is that you see a real collaboration between industry, government, and communities, all working together for the benefit of all. We often say on this show that a rising tide floats all boats, and you certainly get
Absolutely.
it.
Yep. And you know, there is that link that you can't dispute. It's the link between rural economic development and transportation and infrastructure. They're just like that. And the Premier, it was his idea to do this, obviously. But I mean, I've bought into it big time, and I think that the connection is definitely a good one.
Minister, all of this doesn't happen without a steady hand on the tiller. So thank you very much for your leadership, and thank you very much for your service to our province.
Always a pleasure, Alan, for you and Jerry to be doing this. It's a great service. Thanks. I appreciate it.